you love wilderness, you have to love Australia. I mean, take a look at it. It's vast. It's a beautiful continent.
I'm going to venture into the heart of some of the wildest places on Earth.
That's the raw energy of nature. Golly.
Across the remote outback.
Ooh, what was that? Oh, a big one.
Into the big blue ocean. And high over the mountains.
Well, it should be a great place to look for eagles. Yeah.
With my team, I'm going to discover the incredible life that thrives here, in all its beauty and variety.
I just saw one. This is one of the most incredible sights in nature.
This is the Australian wilderness. Australia has some of the world's most dramatic landscapes, and this time I'll be venturing deep into its stone country. Nitmiluk National Park lies in Australia's Northern Territory, 300 kilometres inland from Darwin. This is a vast rocky landscape, and to get to the middle of it, I'm taking to the skies.
So we're good to get airborne now?
I think we're good to go.
Jumping in the helicopter can be a fantastic perspective on the landscape. There ahead of us is the stone country rising straight up.
Nitmiluk is an ancient wilderness. It sits at the end of a giant sandstone plateau that was formed millions of years before even dinosaurs roamed our planet. This is a landscape of rock and water, where sheets of cracked stone are topped with waterfalls and pools.
It's incredible. Beautiful country.
I'm going to start my journey high up in the stone country and make my way down to join the Catherine River that runs through a spectacular gorge.
A very dramatic landscape as we come up. See the gorge is stunning.
Nitmiluk National Park is twice the size of London and largely uninhabited.
That saved me a big walk.
The helicopter drops me at nearly 300 metres above sea level at one of the most remote landing pads I've ever seen.
That helicopter flight was brilliant. It's given me a real sense for the country. One of the things that really struck me is just how vast the area is and also how remote a lot of it is. But that remoteness actually has its advantages, and in some ways it acts to preserve places of special interest like this one.
Although the land here is arid, Nitmiluk is a maze of waterways. This area has a tropical climate, and up here you find pockets of water left over from the recent monsoon rains, like this oasis.
This really is a landscape of rock shaped by water. It's a strong place, a vibrant place. The wildlife, plants, the trees, they thrive in the moisture here.
It's early in the morning, and I'm greeted by a tropical dawn chorus. Parrots and cockatoos sit in the tree tops. Amongst the vibrant flowers, their bright colours camouflage them from predators.
It's exciting, dynamic. It really is a special place.
I'll be using waterholes like these to help me navigate across the landscape. So as the sun starts to heat the day, I set out into the open plateau, where each waterhole should guide me all the way to the Catherine River.
It's really beautiful country up here. There are a lot of different types of eucalyptus. This one, with this very distinctive and rather beautiful bark, is the tree that was traditionally used for making didgeridoos. What you'd look for is a tree of suitable diameter. This is a bit thick and nice and straight, and one that when you tap it makes a hollow sound. This one isn't hollow. When it's hollow, it shows that it's been hollowed out by termites. They do the work, and then it's cut and obviously shaped for use. Amazing. Eucalyptus bonicii.
Certain trees and plants indicate that water is nearby.
Well, for the last few minutes, I've been smelling a freshness in the air and seeing some acacias growing, slight scent of spinifex, and I'm hearing the sound of finches. And that all combines to tell me that there's water, and this is it. Take a look at this. This is Longhole. Isn't that special?
Nitmiluk is a place of only 2 seasons, dry and wet.
This whole area is inundated by the monsoon rains in the wet season, and then the waters recede until you're left with water like this that is all spring fed. And as the dry season comes on, obviously the water reduces, and what you get are pockets of water trapped in like vessels made of rock. So you get these little pockets, little tiny waterholes, upon which all the wildlife is concentrated.
This iconic bird, the laughing kookaburra, sits motionless on his perch, waiting for prey to pass by. Despite being a kingfisher, he eats more insects and reptiles than fish.
Great opportunity to watch this white-faced heron really close up.
Being a wading bird, this heron has long, thin legs that allows it to hunt in the water whilst keeping the rest of its body dry.
It's fascinating to see how it's actually hunting. It's going along the edge of the water here and then dipping its feet in and just gesticulating with its foot in the water to cause disturbance, maybe to bring in some, to lift some silt to bring in a fish. I don't know whether it's doing that or whether it's literally actually just chasing some fish out, one or the other. And then when it locks onto a fish, you can see its head as it follows. Boom, and it gets it. Amazing.
Whilst I've been watching the heron, something has been watching me. And it's edging closer. It's a water monitor lizard.
Scuttle past. Beautiful.
It's thought that the monitor lizard gets its name because of the way it raises its head to monitor its territory and any intruders.
Fantastic.
When threatened, a water monitor can use its teeth, claws, and tail to defend itself. All 3 can inflict serious injury.
Surprised he hasn't taken off because I'm really close to him. And he uses his tongue rather like a snake with a forked tongue that comes out and samples the scent in the air. So he must know I'm right by him.
As opportunistic carnivores, water monitors will eat just about anything that they can overpower. They use their strong leg muscles to turn quickly when hunting for prey.
They're very good swimmers as well, so they can move through these water courses, pool to pool, exploiting a wide range of food resources. I love the markings on his back, aren't they fantastic?
Unlike humans, lizards can't internally control their body temperature in extreme heat. They don't sweat, so instead use shade and water to cool off. And in this heat, I think they've got the right idea. Although this is crocodile country, it's unlikely there will be any up here, as it's too high for them to climb. Fingers crossed.
So lovely. Fantastic, great place to fill up a water bottle. All spring fed. It's a lovely, pristine spot. And I have to tell you that being able to get in the water and cool off is just magic.
As beautiful as this place is, the rest of my journey awaits. I will be following the water down into the Nitmiluk Gorge to witness a wildlife phenomenon only to be seen at dusk. Nitmiluk Gorge stretches for 12 kilometers through the rock, with sheer sandstone cliffs rising vertically along its length, in some places up to 100 meters high. It's a steep descent, but some of the locals are used to this terrain.
Look at this python. A great thing to see. What a beautiful animal.
Olive pythons are built for this environment.
This python has come out, I think, to gain some warmth. Beautiful creature.
They can travel from the highest plateau down to the river's edge with ease. As humans, we have 700 muscles in our body, but this python has nearly 10,000 in his. He can climb by bending and flexing the entire length of his muscular body. With this movement, he can even climb trees. There are a few places where the water is accessible from the gorge, and as I climb down to the edge of the Catherine River, I see a welcome sight. Guide Jamie Brooks, who will give me a lift along the river.
All right.
Good, thank you.
Will I come aboard?
Yeah, of course. Make your way on.
Thank you.
It's the beginning of the dry season, and the river looks quiet and still, but appearances can be deceiving.
It looks nice and calm now, but in the wet season we get a flow of over 40k an hour in most places.
40 kilometres an hour.
Yeah.
Incredible.
During the monsoon months, the river floods and huge torrents of water surge through this gorge.
How high does the water come up in here?
Have a look just right here behind us here. See the debris?
Well, that's
in that tree over there?
About 10 metres above the water.
Yeah, yeah, roughly.
That's amazing. The force of nature.
That's when all these black marks, these are all waterfalls.
Yep.
Just algae growing on the rock where water flows all the time.
It's beautiful, isn't it? It's a beautiful stretch of water. It looks stunning.
The force of the water carries huge boulders with it, which get stuck between the steep sides of the gorge. And 3 kilometres into our journey, our pathway is blocked.
The rock is still currently winning, and I can't get any further in the boat at the moment without going overland into a different boat to carry on through the next part of the gorge.
On the other side, Jamie has a second boat moored to help us get further along the river.
So Ray, just up in front of us here, it turns out to be the deepest part of the whole river. It's around 30 metres deep in this corner up in front of us. When the water comes down, it hits the wall and in the corner and creates a massive big whirlpool.
Cool.
Yeah.
So it's a dangerous place as well.
Yeah, yeah.
Most of the gorge sides are impenetrable along the river, but at one point where the walls fall away, there is evidence that people have been living in this gorge for thousands of years. Jawoyn people, the traditional Aboriginal owners of this land, have left clues on the rock to their history.
Well, Jamie, I can see some art up here already. There's loads, isn't there?
These paintings are actually dated around 8,000 to 10,000 years old. So you'll find paintings done by children, women, men, which is why they're overlapping as well. Being a common site, they'd go over the top of whatever was there.
I can see some animal tracks here.
Yeah, a lot of the time because, you know, the older people would often not only paint animals and things that they hunted, but also the tracks. So if the younger people seen paintings of a certain footprint, they know it's a source of food. So when they're walking along, if they see the footprint, they'll, you know, they'll follow it to find out what sort of source of food it is.
What's fascinating, of course, they've depicted themselves and they've left their handprints here as well. That's just, I think that's amazing. When you see the handprint of the artists themselves, it's pretty special.
In Aboriginal culture, the world was created by ancestral spirits.
One of the most important creation figures of the land is the Rainbow Serpent.
Is that Bolong?
That's Bolong is the name for Jawoyn, and you'll notice there's nothing painted around or over the top of him. It's like a warning to passing families that there's an important creation figure in the area.
It is thought that Bolong, the serpent, lives deep in this section of the gorge and can control storms and even the flooding of the river. It's a creature respected by the Jawoyn people.
To this day, they're not allowed to physically touch the water, swim in it, drink it, fish in it, in fear of upsetting, because most creation figures in any culture will be destroyers if you upset them.
That's amazing. So this is a very important painting.
Very.
It's not overpainted, it's a real warning. There's a real atmosphere here. It's a special place. You can feel it. It's tangible.
This is as far as I go by river. I leave Jamie and continue by foot along the water's edge.
I love coming into these areas. The Australian stories, particularly the Aboriginal ones, are fantastic. There's a lovely local legend of Bolong, the Rainbow Serpent, that says that he swallowed in all of the bats and spews them out at night. Beautiful stories.
And as dusk descends on the gorge, I'm heading towards my final destination, a place where such stories become reality. It's at this time of day when the nocturnal creatures of the gorge begin to stir. This bat is just waking up. So are its neighbours. And there are lots of them.
There's estimated to be about 50,000 bats in this colony. You can see there that the sheer weight of these bats is breaking the canopy of the trees that they like to roost in.
Known as little red flying foxes, these are in fact tree-dwelling fruit bats.
I have to tell you, it totally stinks underneath these bats. If you look carefully though, you'll see they've got big eyes, and that gives them that very fox-like face.
Despite the saying, blind as a bat, flying foxes have excellent eyesight and even night vision.
They are really important in this environment. Fruit bats fly out each evening from their roost in search of flowers from which they can drink the nectar, and in so doing, they are pollinators, flower to flower. They also search for fruits to eat, hence the name fruit bat, and when they eat the fruits, they eventually distribute the seeds that have passed through their intestine with a little package of nutrients to get the seeds started. And so they spread the fruiting trees throughout the forest. Now these incredible creatures have had a bit of a raw deal from humans over the years. People tend not to like them. Perhaps they've seen too many horror movies. Mind you, there are some creatures that really like fruit bats, crocodiles, and these trees are right on the edge of the water. When the branches break, crocodiles can get an easy meal and sometimes hang out under these trees.
Right on cue, 2 crocodiles appear, attracted by the waking bats. They're waiting for one to swoop down for a drink or fall from a branch. But bats have an incredible grip. They hold onto the branches using their alien-like fingers and toes. So these bats seem to be safe for now.
When you see them flying, it's a pretty neat trick for a mammal to be so acrobatic in the air. Look at that.
I settle down and wait. Soon this whole colony of bats will take off in search of their nightly feed. And as the sun sets, the exodus begins.
So there you go. This is one of the most incredible sights in nature. It's a privilege to witness it.
Standing here watching these bats fill the skies makes me wonder if the story of Bolong isn't happening in front of my very eyes. This is a sight I will never forget.